This is Jackanory Jr. Hello again everyone, it's GJDJ here. This story I'm about to tell you is one of my absolute favourites. It's the story of Hansel and Gretel. Here's how it goes. Hansel and Gretel lived with their father and their stepmother. Their father was a woodcutter. He was very poor and he had no food left for his family. His wife told him to take the children deep into the forest. She wanted to leave Hansel and Gretel there, then they would have more food for themselves. Hansel and Gretel overheard what their stepmother had said. They were very sad. "Don't worry," said Hansel, "I'll help us." Everybody went to bed, but Hansel stayed outside. The moon shone very brightly that night. There were some pebbles in front of the house that shone like silver pennies under the moonlight. Hansel picked up as many as he could and put them into his pockets. The next day they all went into the forest to fetch wood. As they walked further and further into the forest, Hansel carefully dropped the white pebbles from his pocket. At last they reached the middle of the forest. The woodcutter made a fire to keep Hansel and Gretel warm. The children sat down to rest. The father and stepmother went to collect firewood. Hansel and Gretel waited and waited for them to return. They waited so long that they fell fast asleep. And when they woke up it was very, very dark. Gretel began to cry. "Don't worry," said Hansel, "once the moon comes up we'll be fine." Soon the moon shone full in the sky. The pebbles Hansel had dropped glittered like silver pennies. Hansel and Gretel followed the shiny pebbles all the way home. When the stepmother saw Hansel and Gretel, she was not happy. She gave them both a small piece of bread, and then she told the woodcutter to take them back into the forest again. This time Hansel could not pick up any shiny pebbles. Hansel and Gretel walked deeper and deeper into the trees. This time Hansel dropped little crumbs of bread all along the way. Once again they reached the middle of the forest. Again the woodcutter made a fire to keep Hansel and Gretel warm. Then the woodcutter and his wife walked away into the forest. Hansel and Gretel fell asleep beside the fire. And then when they woke up a few hours later to find the path of the crumbs home, they had all gone. The hungry birds of the forest had eaten them all up. Hansel and Gretel tried to find their way home, but they were lost, tired, and very hungry. And then suddenly, Hansel and Gretel saw a beautiful white dove flying above them. Hansel and Gretel followed the dove for a good hour or so, and if by magic they found a house. Hansel and Gretel were so hungry they ate a little of the biscuit roof and a sugar window. No sooner had they started eating, a soft voice cried out, "Nibble, nibble, gnaw, who's nibbling at my house?" Hansel and Gretel were frightened. Suddenly an old wrinkled woman on crutches appeared. Hansel and Gretel were so surprised that they dropped the food. "Oh, you dear children, who has brought you here?" she asked. "Do come in and stay with me. No harm should happen to you here." The old lady fed Hansel and Gretel. They ate milk, pancakes, sugars, apples and nuts. And now they were nice and full. But the old lady only pretended to be kind. She was really a wicked witch who liked to gobble up little children. She locked Hansel up in a cupboard. Then she told Gretel to fetch water and food for her brother. And now Hansel had to have the best food to fatten him. Gretel had nothing but crab shells. Hansel and Gretel were trapped in the witch's house. Each morning the witch asked Hansel to poke out his finger from the cupboard. She wanted to see how fat he was getting. But clever Hansel poked out a twig. The old lady couldn't see very well. She thought he wasn't getting any fatter. Then one day the witch decided to eat Hansel. She lighted up an oven and asked Gretel to do something for her. "Could you climb into the oven to see if it's hot enough?" But Gretel was too clever for her. "I don't know what to do. How do I get in?" The witch was very angry. "Silly goose," she said. "I'll show you." Gretel gave her a big push and shut the door tight. Then she unlocked the pantry and set Hansel free. Hansel and Gretel were very happy to escape from the witch's house. Later on their walk, Hansel and Gretel saw the beautiful white dove flying above them again. And then they followed the dove all the way home. The woodcutter was overjoyed to see them. Hansel and Gretel told their father about the house made of food. "They'll be never hungry again," they cheered. And Hansel and Gretel knew exactly where to get food from if they were out again. The end. Now everyone, in case if you're wondering, watch out for witches, okay? And wizards, don't forget. A witch is a female and a wizard is a male. But there could be a magic house somewhere. And if you're hungry and you didn't bring any food with you, try and look out for a house made of food like the witches. But be careful, okay? It's at your own risk. I'll see you again soon for another story. Bye bye.